Kansas. I am at the one-year novel summer workshop, writer's workshop, and I have the awesome opportunity to interview one of the speakers here, Steve Laube. Steve, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am a literary agent. I've been in the industry for over 35 years, and as part of that, our agency represents over 200 published authors, and also happen to be the publisher of Enclave Publishing, which is the, well, at least we like to call it, the premier publisher of Christian fantasy and science fiction.
Okay, so did you start out as just a literary agent, or how did you start out as?
Oh, that's a long story, 30-year story. So how long do we have? No. I actually began as a college student as a shelf duster in a bookstore. And I had other aspirations. It was just something to do part-time. And I got infected with a love of retail and working with books. And later became the manager of the book department, then the assistant store manager, then the store manager, and then became the national buyer for the chain. And then became an editor for Bethany House Publishers and worked for them for over a decade. And then became a literary agent 13 years ago. So it's been on everything from retail to publishing to the business side, running a publishing company, all those various things.
Yeah.
Quite a variety. It was not my original career goal.
Really?
Yeah, you don't go to school to become an agent. It just kind of happened. You also don't go to school to become a clerk in a retail bookstore either. But that's kind of how God made it happen.
So then how did you go from literary agent to president and owner of Enclave Publishing?
Well, I've always loved the genre, just ever since I've been a kid. And when I was at Bethany House in the 90s, we actually published some science fiction and fantasy. I was the acquiring editor for those. In the mid-2000s, around 2008, Jeff Gerke started March of Lord Press. And he worked it as well as he could for 5 or 6 years, and then he just got to the point where he needed to do something different. And I bought it from him. And then I rebranded it as Enclave Publishing in late 2014. So while I was an agent doing that full-time, I was also doing Enclave, you want to say as a hobby or as on the side. It kind of took a life of its own. Got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. We do 12 new books a year. So this 2 months ago, I sold the company to an even larger entity. So now Enclave is an imprint of a larger company called Gilead Publishing. And now they have the resources and whatnot to make this genre expand into the world in a bigger way. But I still get to be a part of it.
That's really neat. So do you just publish science fiction and fantasy?
Personally, under Enclave, yes.
Okay.
As an agent, so I have two hats. So I have to be very careful that I make sure I don't misrepresent it. You know, Enclave is the publishing side, kind of dealing with that category. As a literary agent, I represent authors and books of all types. Everything from the sweet romance author to the systematic theologian, academicians doing very intense academic work, to the very light entertainment, and everything in between. Everything from, goodness, we've done cookbooks, we've done Bible studies, we've done Christian living, we've done Amish fiction, we've done apologetics. It's just the whole gamut of the industry. It's a lot of fun.
So what is one project that you felt personally connected
In what way?
to? Like, it was, like you wanted to push it forward more than the others.
It's like asking a mother, which child do you like best? It's kind of an unfair question, but I will say one of the projects that I would say I'm very honored and privileged to be a part of. A.W. Tozer is considered one of the great writers and prophets of our day, and he passed away in the early 60s. Well, we came across, this author came across 400 of his audio tapes that had never been transcribed. And so this author came to me and said, now what do we do? And so working together, securing the rights to those audio tapes, we have produced 12 brand new, never before published A.W. Tozer books.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's really amazing to bring this man's incredible work back into our era in a new way. If you want to know what he had to say about Hebrews, we have the book. If you want to know what he had to say about the Gospel of John, we have that book. And they're now being published by Bethany House. It's very exciting.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
So, what is something like? So you deal with a lot of people. What is something, and like as a literary agent, what is something that you always do that people do, so that our readers can know not to do that?
Well, once they're clients, they stop doing it. Well, when we're approached to represent someone, I have a lot of folks who come who aren't ready. They think they are, and that's fine. I appreciate the fact that they're being willing and brave enough to bring their material to us. But what I don't like is when they argue, or if they claim this, God gave this to me, you have to represent it. You know, I'm assuming that God brings creativity and wonderful things into people's lives, but it may not necessarily be commercially viable or ready for the marketplace. And to use that as a hammer or to try to make me feel guilty that I'm not loving their book. I actually did a blog post, and I titled it, God Gave Me This Blog Post. Trying to answer that question, saying, you know, we have a lot of people that will invoke that. I was talking to a pastor of a church the other day, and I mentioned that, and he goes, you're kidding. People actually do that, like, all the time. They will walk up and say, this is inspired by God, so you need to represent it. No, not so much. No. It means that God inspired it, but he never told you how to, taught you how to write.
Yeah. Shame the phrases people abuse trying to be published.
And I understand the motivation behind it. It's a sincere belief that this has been placed on me. I've been inspired. But to use it as the hammer or the sales pitch is wrong. Because we assume that everybody is inspired.
Yeah. So what would be the correct sales pitch? If someone were to submit a manuscript to you, what would you see in their sales pitch as something you think, aha, I think this person is ready?
Well, a lot depends on what they're pitching. I mean, if it's a great story, what is the hook that's going to grab me? If it's a nonfiction book, you're helping me understand, well, who's going to read this? I can think of a pitch that I heard at a writer's conference by a young lady. If she's listening, she'll recognize it. She was kind of in her mid-30s, and she said, I have a vision to create Bible studies for women 35 years and younger, because I sat at the feet of Beth Moore and Kay Arthur, but they teach my mom, and we love to overshare. And that's a brilliant pitch. It's like, oh, she's identified her marketplace. She's identified who it is that she wants to use these Bible studies. And then she actually created brilliant material, and she's on the bestseller list now.